Okay, we're ready to hook up the linkage to the ailerons on this. I got my two rods out of the linkage package, and I've got my control horns and the nut caps for the back. All my little screws and everything laying here. So anyway, I do need one more of those rubber deals. Okay, first thing you do is I like to snap these together. And by the way, I was out of the right size 256, I think is what this is, and I was out of them, my metal clevises, so I'm going to go ahead and use the plastic ones. I don't think it'll hurt anything on this little plane. People use them all the time, don't have any problem with them. So, alright, screw them on until you have about a 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch sticking out, about a 1/16 into the clevis itself. You gotta have some adjustment room in case you get your bend off. But I screw mine in till I have about that much bolt sticking out on the inside. So we'll go ahead and slide one of these up over here. That's a safety. It's just a piece of fuel tubing, but golly, it's hard to get on there. After we attach everything, we'll slide it up over the clevis to keep it from being popped apart. So, alright, we'll go ahead and do the other one. There we go. Had a whole drawer full of these plastic ones, but I didn't have any metal. I'm out of them. I guess we used them all. I've got some of the bigger ones, the 440s, but I think these rods are 256. So, get these screwed on. You will also need your radio and your receiver plugged into this to do this. Alright, got it in there good. Go ahead and slide the rubber safety lock on there. Get it up on the clevis there, and we'll leave it right there for now. Okay, now I gotta pop these back apart. There. What I do is go ahead and clip it on my control horn, and the book in this particular one calls for the second hole. So I think that's what it is on the. No, the ailerons go in the first hole. I'm not sure why, but the rest of them go in the second. The lower down you go on your hole, and the longer arm you have on your servo, the more throw you're going to get. So if you want less throw, shorter arm on the servo and all the way out to the farthest hole on here, and that will make it a little bit lighter for you for beginners and stuff. But anyway, if you want to tune it up later, then you can go in there and change that around and add some more throw to it. Okay, we are going to turn the radio on, and we're going to turn the receiver on. Lights on. We got power. Double check them. Okay. Okay, something ain't right here. That's on my elevator. What is going on? Oh, no, it's not. That's right. Okay. There we go. Right turn is up, left down, vice versa. I've got my two servos centered, the control horns on them. So now what we're going to do, let me get my little drill ready here. We're going to lay this on here. Now, you want to, what I do on these particular ones, it works good. I take one of my clamps, and you can clamp that on the end of down here, and that holds your aileron solid where it doesn't move on you as bad. So, I'll stick this on here to kind of prop it up. There we go. Alright, now what we're going to do is lay that rod. You want it right even, a 90-degree angle to your servo horn. You don't want it way off over here to the side because it'll bind it. So make sure it's straight and in line, 90 degree. And then also you want to push your horn up. What you want is you want these holes right here. If I can do this on here. You want these holes lined up right over the hinge joint. You don't want them back too far or forward, it'll bind. You want that pivot point lined up right over the hinge joint in your wing. So be sure you slide that up the right distance, and that's one reason you want to lock this aileron down so it don't move on you. Just lay your wire on top of there. Make sure that is lined up with the hinge joint, and we will drill a hole here. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and start one of my screws to kind of help hold it in place. And I think the little pencil screwdriver is going to work well for that. Let's get it on here and get it lined up. Okay. Go ahead and screw that all the way through. And we'll put the cap on it in a minute. Now, make sure that your holes are lined up. They're dead center, right even with the gap. So now that's going to hold that in place, and I can drill my other hole. Alright. Now we'll put the other screw in. Okay. Now we've got a little flat. Oops. Well, I may have lost that one. Good thing I got a whole drawer full. I don't know where it went over here. Anyway, I got another one here. Shave off this tab where it come loose, where you broke it off. Anyway, it's a little flat other side that the screws screw into on the other side of the control surface. So then, just get them lined up. And just start one at a time. Don't screw it all the way down. Just start that one and then go to the next one. If you screw the one all the way down, and then it won't line up the other one. So now just go back and forth until you get them tight. Now don't over tighten these and suck that plastic down into your control surface, which it will. This is balsa. So if you tighten it too tight, it'll just pull that plastic right down in there and make a big dent in it. So you just want them snugged up flat. Alright, now we've got our radio on. We've got our aileron locked, centered. It's pretty close here. So now I'm going to take a Sharpie, and we are going to mark our rod where we want the 90-degree bend. Then we're going to pop it back off of here and get it loose. Okay, I got my mark there where I want to make my bend. I have this nifty little tool. You can use pliers, but I love this little thing. It's made to bolt on a bench, but I just leave it here. Just pick the hole that fits the best in. Let's see, and then put that line right on there and bend it in a 90 degree, or just a hair past. There we go. Now we will take the cutters, cut that off. Leave about 1/4 of an inch. Hang on to this other end when you snap it. I've had a piece of this, we snapped it off and it flew across the room and stuck into the fuselage on the plane. So always hold on to it. And anyway, now we can put this back on here. And we will, oh, there's another thing. We're going to have to drill out the holes. I should have done that when I mounted them. You have to drill out the holes in your servo horns. For whatever reason, most of them are too small. Let's see, for this, and I need a little block of wood. Hang on just a second. Let me get something here. Alright, I need a little block of wood to put under here to support that. Okay, that way it keeps me from breaking that off. It keeps me from going through hitting my covering on the wing, and it just gives a little support, so always use that. Now, that wire will drop right down through there. It's still a little bit long, so we're going to nip a tiny bit more. I left about 1/4 of an inch, but we're going to go just a little less than that. There again, watch your end. Don't let it hit you in the eye. And also don't let it fly across the room and go through one of your planes. Alright, now we got that on there. Let me do a little extra bend here. Okay. Now we're going to put our, slide another one of these rubber pieces of fuel line on here. Put it in the servo horn. And then your safety clip goes over the end of the wire and then snaps onto that. They snap pretty tight. Had a friend of mine had one come loose the other day on his aileron. It was a single servo aileron. It was a Nexstar trainer. One of the wire 90 just came loose on the safety clip. Luckily the aileron kind of fluttered level and he was able to land that plane without losing it, but sometimes you don't get that lucky. Alright, once we've got that where we want it, then we'll check our aileron. It's just a little bit high, so we can do take this loose and adjust it out a couple of turns. And the best thing to do here so you don't torque anything is get a hold of this with some little vice grips. And we're going to go out. There's a half a turn and one turn. Let's go 1 1/2 and see what we've got. Make sure that's squared up 90 degrees so it doesn't put a bind on you. Put it back in there and snap it. Oh, way too much. Maybe I only needed a half a turn. We'll get it as close as we can with this. I'll go back in 1 turn. Get it squared up 90 degrees. Snap it. Now what I'm looking at over here on the end is making sure this is flush. It's still high. I guess I went the wrong direction. That's what I did. I need to screw it in. Okay. I'll get my head on straight here in a minute, guys. Okay, we'll go in 1/2, 1 1/2. Let's try that. I went the wrong way. Alright, we're going to look at this right here. Still a little bit high. We're looking at this where the aileron lines up with the edge of the wing. We're still slightly high, so I need to screw it in just a tiny bit more. Let's go 1 more turn. Get it 90 degree here. It should be pretty close. Oh, that's looking good. I need to go maybe back out a half a turn. You can get it as close as you can with this, and then you can use your trim to get it a little bit closer if it's slightly out of whack. Alright, this should be it right here. Alright, snapped on there. There we go. Now that aileron trailing edge is perfectly in line with the trailing edge of the wing out here, so we know it's squared up. It's just a hair high, but what I'll do is adjust the other one to where it's just a hair low, and then I'll go into my radio on my sub trim, and I'll fine tune that. But anyway, there we go. We got a working aileron. How about that? All right, now we will slide. I use a pair of needle nose to slide these rubber safety loops up on here. Don't slide it all the way up against your horn, because if you do, it'll bind it. So just put it up far enough to hold that. And on your clevises, they actually have a couple of little notches that you back it up against. There again, when it goes one way or the other, you don't want it to bind. Alright, now that'll keep those from coming off in a flight from vibration or whatever. So, okay, we will finish the other side, and wing will be completely done. There we go. We're done with all that. We've got 2 working ailerons. That's just at 100%. That's where your radio comes out, but we'll go in and change that. We'll set low rates about right in there, and then high rates before we fly this thing. But anyway, that's all. Now, on this part of the wing, this is one of the last things. There's a little plate that goes on top, and that's where your bolts screw through to the fuselage to hold it in place. And there's no holes in this at this time, but once it's glued down, then you'll drill them through from the other side. But you lay it on here and line it up right where you want it. And then this marker here, you can use a Sharpie, and it will come off with alcohol. but this one is a disappearing ink. It's actually made for sewing. My wife got it for me, and it makes a perfect little line on it, and you can just wipe it right off with your finger. But anyway, mark that, the outline of it. Then when you cut this covering back, because you want wood to wood with glue, it won't stick to the covering, it'll pull loose. I mean, it'll stick, but your covering will come loose. So anyway, cut about 1/8 of an inch inside that line. That way you don't have any raw wood showing. You'll have a lip of covering over the edge like this is. And that way it won't show through or anything. So we'll get that glued on and drill the holes in it.